Donald Trump has Bitcoin in his mouth once again, this time in front of 20,000 Bitcoiners in Nashville. Let's break it down and let's dive into it. All right, so same thing as the RFK one that you guys saw. It's going to be linked and you're going to be able to watch that one as well. We're going to go ahead and break down what he means in his speech. Personally, I'm going to give you my thoughts up front. That way you can hear them and then skip off the video if you want. Haha, just kidding. Personally, I thought that Trump was way more level-headed than RFK. I think he was lower than expectations. But I think if Trump had gone first and RFK hadn't gone, this would have blown people away, the fact that he's talking like this. The overton window is expanding, dare I say, shattering when politicians this big are talking about the importance of Bitcoin for our society and for our future generations. We need to remove politics from Bitcoin, not bring them in. But here we are. I think if you told me in 2016, when Bitcoin was a couple $100s, that we would have presidential candidate Donald Trump talking about basically pandering to 20,000 Bitcoiners at the world's biggest Bitcoin event, I would have laughed and called you crazy. But here we are. Bitcoin changes people. Bitcoin changes the world. Bitcoin is a free market money protocol that cannot be stopped. And here he is.
Hello, Bitcoiners. Thank you very much. Hello. It's good to be with you. I'm thrilled to be here in Nashville to become the first American president ever to address a Bitcoin event. We have to talk about Bitcoin. We have to talk about all these great companies. I stand before you today filled with respect and admiration for what the Bitcoin community has achieved. It's incredible, actually. Incredible, because they know so much about it. They're so aware of it, much more so than people that are a little bit older. But I say this is the steel industry of 100 years ago. It really is. I think you're just in your infancy. I can see it happening. In just 15 years, Bitcoin has gone from merely an idea posted anonymously on an internet message board to being the 9th most valuable asset anywhere in the world. Can you believe that? Is that right? That's a big deal.
Boom. I love that, especially because if you read Atlas Shrugged, it's all about the steel industry. Now we're into Bitcoin. Bitcoiners get to experience and hopefully prevent the decay that Ayn Rand predicted, what was it, like 70 years ago or something like that, with the steel industry. We now get to live through this revolution, this peaceful revolution in moving towards a Bitcoin standard. Oof, very good. Good acknowledgement, Trump.
Bitcoin is not just a marvel of technology. As you know, it's a miracle of cooperation and human achievement. And a lot of relationships that are formed. I just did a meeting, a roundtable with a lot of the leaders, and it's amazing. There's a great camaraderie. It's really interesting. There's competition, but there's a relationship, there's a friendship that's developed with a lot of these people. I noticed it. I don't usually see that too often.
Yeah, I loved that point. I don't think he meant to bring this up, but he's showcasing what a protocol, what rules without rulers brings you. It brings you an even playing field. You don't have this, cutthroat, competitive, I have to steal from you so that I can live environment. When we're all looking through the protocol lens, we're all looking at what a sound money economy gives us.
The reason I've come to address the Bitcoin community today can be summed up in two very simple words: America first. Because if we don't do it, China's going to be doing, others are going to be doing it. Let's do it and do it right.
Ooh, I love this. Bitcoin puts governments into competition with themselves. What did he just say? If we don't do it, China's going to do it. We didn't talk about how do we control it? It's like, no. The cat's out of the bag. If we don't embrace Bitcoin here in America, someone else is going to do it. And then what he's implying, what he doesn't actually say, maybe he does later on, he doesn't say it, but he means, and they're going to win. He understands that the first country that adopts Bitcoin is going to win. We have to make it easy for people to use this protocol in America.
You need tremendous amounts of electricity. You need double the electricity of the entire electricity that we have right now in the United States to dominate, and we'll get that done. Who would think we can get that done? But we're going to get it done. We'll be having power plants built at the sites. We'll be releasing people from certain ridiculous requirements, and we'll be using fossil fuel to make electricity because we're going to have to. We'll be using nuclear. We'll be doing it in an environmentally friendly way. but we will be creating so much electricity that you'll be saying, please, please, President, we don't want any more electricity. We can't stand it.
I love that. That's one of the promises of Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining specifically is energy abundance. I just don't trust his campaign team to understand that Bitcoin brings energy abundance, but he's definitely speaking our language here. He understands that when there is a commercial industry incentivized to do something with the energy that they produce, then there's going to be massive advancements in energy production. When there's massive advancements in energy production, energy cost goes down. When energy cost goes down, it gives more people an opportunity to invest in energy, to then further that innovation. And ultimately, it just compounds.
We're so different from anybody else in terms of a campaign. First of all, we understand it. They don't understand it. They are blocking your path. They're blocking your way. But I've made it a lot easier for you because the SEC has been very, very tough on you. And now they see that you've embraced me. All of a sudden, people that were under investigation, they're being let go. They're saying, oh, no, we don't want to do that. We love crypto. Let me tell you, if they win this election, every one of you will be gone. They will be vicious. They will be ruthless. They will do things that you wouldn't believe. But right now, because of me, they're leaving you alone. So please say thank you, President Trump. Thank you very much.
Generally speaking, I kind of ignore the state. I don't love these politician videos, but this is, I think, an important piece of our industry and in our time. And I think that he's touching on something super important here, which is the fiat world, the SEC, the TradFi, the bureaucrats, the politicians, and the government. That's not going away. Like we're centuries away from a Bitcoin standard world where there's like 8 people in government and they're properly elected and held accountable. We are centuries away from that idealistic world. Because Bitcoin is not some financial asset, because Bitcoin is a freedom asset, the harder they clamp down on Bitcoin, the more it becomes apparent that your freedoms are not safe under a democratic or a socialist or a left wing or a big government. And the more that happens, the more, once again, the free market will prevail. And we're going to see people like Trump, people on the other side of the aisle, kind of pander and hone in on that, which is ultimately going to create Bitcoin in this partisan issue. Bitcoin is nonpartisan because both sides of the aisle have that censorship. But I think he's picking up on this quite well, understanding that Bitcoin is more than just some regular financial asset. It's subject to more than SEC regulations and this old ancient view of SEC regulations. And he's claiming they're going to get it right. I don't trust him. I don't necessarily think that's true. He's shown that he doesn't actually understand Bitcoin to the point of knowledgeable that I would respect. But the fact that it's in his mouth is a good thing.
It should be no surprise that these same totalitarians are hell-bent on crushing crypto and obliterating, and that's what they want to do, and that's what they are stated. They're there right now. You have the SEC, you know what they're doing, obliterating Bitcoin. The reason could not be more clear because Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government, coercion, and control. If we don't win this race, and I know you're not that political, but you have to be political because your whole thing, you have a lot of politics involved in what you do. I pledge to the Bitcoin community that the day I take the oath of office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. It will end. It'll be done. Day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman.
I love this. This surprised him so much that he actually said it again to get a better sound clip. Watch this.
Let me say it again. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa.
Bitcoiners hate Gary. This is what I mean, though. The fact that he didn't know that, the fact that he kind of glazed over that statement as if it was some nothing statement, it probably is a nothing statement to most of the other people that he talks to. But to this crowd, to the Bitcoiners, Gary Gensler represents fiat, represents everything we despise, represents everything Bitcoin stands against. This should have been known to him. He should have been told, emphasize the Gary firing.
They want to choke you out of business. We're not going to let that happen. And no longer will your government sit by and watch as Bitcoin jobs and businesses flee to other countries because America's laws are too unclear and too tough and too angry and too stiff. We will keep each and every Bitcoin job in the United States of America. That's what we're going to be doing. Upon taking office, I will immediately appoint a Bitcoin and Crypto Presidential Advisory Council. Would anybody like to be on that particular council? Please raise your hand.
This is a troubling thing because this could really go one of two ways. And I think this highlights like the danger of centralization in government. If it's the same person that wrote his speech, it's not going to be that great. Because again, this is a shallow depth of knowledge of the industry and the Freedom Protocol as a whole.
Their task will be to design transparent regulatory guidance for the benefit of the entire industry, and they will get it done in 100 days. We will have regulations, but from now on, the rules will be written by people who love your industry, not hate your industry. People that want to make it clear and simple, straightforward and fair. People that want to see your industry thrive, not dive.
I think that is the greatest argument for and also against this government's getting involved in Bitcoin. What we're not going to ever achieve under this horrific big government environment is a world where we have rules but no rulers. And that is the promise of Bitcoin. You cannot change the rules if I do not agree on the rules being changed. That's the way it should be. That's not what he's saying. It happens to be in our favor right now. And as a Bitcoiner, this makes me quite excited. But it's not ultimately good that we have a system that works this way.
Next, I will immediately order the Treasury Department and other federal agencies to cease and desist all steps necessary because you know, there's a thing going on in your industry. They want to move the creation of a central bank digital currency. It's over. Forget it. CBDC. There will never be a CBDC while I'm president of the United States. And I will always defend the right to self-custody.
Boom. Self-custody. Let's listen to that one again. I have to say, being the only self-custody, automatic self-custody platform in the USA, Trump would be very good for Bitcoin well.
America will once again be a nation that protects property rights, privacy, freedom of transaction, freedom of association, and freedom of speech. This is all common sense that we're talking about today, and Bitcoin will skyrocket like never before, even beyond your expectations, and you are the people that are doing it. Now, you have to listen to these numbers. These numbers are like beautiful. And I don't want to repeat myself. Listen to these numbers. As a result, during my 4 years in office, Bitcoin surged by 3,900%.
If you're a president and you take credit for Bitcoin being Bitcoin, stop. Know your audience. That is not because of you.
I don't know what I said.
That is because of the basic supply and demand economics that Donald Trump should be very well aware of.
It's a country buster. The Bitcoiners, and I say to you that you recognize the dangers of inflation long before most others did. You understood inflation, frankly, better than anybody else. You know that, don't you? They didn't listen to you. The trillions of dollars in ridiculous waste approved by our opponents resulted in the very inflation disaster that Bitcoiners had always predicted. You understood that, but a lot of other people didn't. The life savings of millions of Americans was rapidly destroyed. And very simply, uncontrolled inflation is a stealth taxation of the middle class. It really is. It's a stealth taxation.
Yeah, that's crazy because we were called nuts. When we were printing money here in Canada, I was pointing out, hey, the M0, the money supply, the root of money has quintupled over the last few years. Oh, it doesn't matter. Inflation is 2%. Who cares? Guys, it's not 2%. Inflation, what do you say? 30, 40% of every dollar's value was eroded. Listen to the Bitcoiners.
When I'm president, I guarantee you it won't happen because we're going to do things that make sure it doesn't happen. They've allowed pricing to get totally out of control. We're going to do energy, bring it down to levels that people have not seen. It's what we have. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation in the world, more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. We don't use it. We don't use it. They use it. We don't use it. We go out and buy oil from Venezuela. It's amazing. But we won't stop there. We will harness American energy in all forms. I have set the ambitious goal that by the end of my term, the United States will be the #1 lowest cost of energy and electricity of any nation on earth. We can make it so inexpensively. Because of what we have under our feet, we can make it so inexpensively. And with low energy costs, America will become the world's undisputed Bitcoin mining powerhouse. You'll be a Bitcoin mining powerhouse. You will not have to move your family to China.
I like that he relates inflation back to energy. I think that it is positive and possible for people to start understanding that money is just a reflection of energy, specifically human energy, but also in our ability to capture energy as value. Money is value. I think that this is good. He's relating money to energy, bringing this thought into the broader scope of people's thoughts and ideas.
And so as I take steps to transform that vast wealth into a permanent national asset to benefit all Americans, today I repeat my pledge to commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served. It's enough.
Good for him. I'm happy he brought in. It's got to feel good for Ross to watch this.
This will be one industry, but this will be a thriving industry, a great industry, and I'm going to be doing the same thing for every other industry also. Our nation has never thrived by trying to censor new ideas and shut down the dreams of our people.
Boom, that's really good. America never thrives by censoring our bold frontiers. I love that quote. I love that statement. You cannot thrive in a censorship-rich environment. You have to get out of the way of the pioneers. You have to remove the red tape, the barriers, and the blockers from the people that want to protect you that ultimately end up hurting you. So I think all in all, this Trump speech was, again, generally positive. I think that you heard some of my thoughts earlier. I do not think this was as strong as the RFK speech, but he needed to politically position himself as someone that was still going to be elected in the future. RFK had the ability to go full psychopath. He is full Bitcoin maxi down the rabbit hole, talking about soft wars, talking about self-custody, talking about running nodes. Trump came out to show his support for Bitcoiners. He told us we could play with our things or play with our Bitcoins. It was a little bit condescending. This was more of a Trump rally. This was more of a Trump campaign speech than it was a president coming to show the Bitcoiners that he understood Bitcoin. That was the RFK approach. I want Bitcoiners to adopt me as their president. I want Bitcoiners, these single issue voters, I want to show them who I am. He had, RFK, had everything to gain and nothing to lose by what he said. Had Trump come out and said the things that RFK said, which, by the way, you can watch that video right here, I don't think it would have been as well received by the rest of the audience. And so, all that to say, I want to hear from you. You've now watched the difference between RFK, mega Bitcoiner, and Trump, pandering to Bitcoiners. You've heard the two. You understand that Bitcoin is looked at in a positive light here. But what does it mean for you? Tell me down below what you think having a presidential candidate speak positively about Bitcoin does for you, your family, your future generations, and ultimately our world. Stay sovereign.